Nobody tells you the day that it starts. There's no alarm. There's nothing on the calendar. No moment where somebody sits you down and says, this is it. This is where you began to disappear. It starts as a good excuse. The workout you skip because you're listening to your body. The second drink because the week was long. The goal you quietly traded for a smaller one nobody can see you miss. The dream you stopped saying out loud because it started to feel a little embarrassing at your age. None of it feels like quitting. Actually, every piece of it seems reasonable. And that's the trap. Decline doesn't kick your door in. It gets invited. One comfortable choice at a time. And by the time you notice, you built a smaller life and called it being realistic. I'm Brad Davidson, and this is your ultimate comeback. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how the fade happens. The part that's a choice and the part that's real biology and shows up in your blood work before you ever see it in the mirror. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to show you what we've built to fight it. Hello, welcome to episode 139 of Your Ultimate Comeback. I'm your host, Brad. Raquel is out today. She's out rooting on Quinn at a big beach volleyball tournament. So big shout out to Quinn and we wish her good luck. All right, this episode is going to be a little different. Usually we're bringing you a mechanism, a marker, a protocol, a strategy you can implement, someone's experience that hopefully you could connect with. But today I'm doing something I've been putting off for about 2 years, which is telling you plainly what I actually believe. What this show is for, what I'm actually for. And then I'm going to unveil something. We've been building it quietly for months with a handful of clients, and it's finally ready. It's called the Ikaria method, and it's the answer to a question I get in some form almost every single week. Brad, that's great, but who's actually going to help me do this? So, 30 minutes. First the fight, then the plan. Stay with me to the end because the last 10 minutes are the part nobody else in this space will give you straight. So let me start with the part that makes people uncomfortable, which is the most of the fading is not happening to you. You're participating in it. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not calling you lazy. I don't think any of you are lazy. I think you're one of the more disciplined people in your zip code, and I think that's exactly why this is so hard to see. Disciplined people don't quit in one dramatic moment. They quit in increments, and every increment has a defensible reason attached to it. Here's what it actually looks like. You're 44. You've got a business or a career that eats you alive. Kids, a marriage, aging parents maybe. And one Tuesday you decide not to train. Not because you're soft, because your kid had a thing. And the day ran long and you thought, honestly, I probably need the rest. And you're probably right. That's the thing. That Tuesday, you were right. Then it's 2 Tuesdays. Then Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then you're at 3 days a week, which is still respectable. You tell yourself 3 days a week is what a grown man with responsibilities does. And it is. Except 2 years ago, it was 5 days a week. And you were adding weight to the bar, and now you're not. And no one ever announced the change. Same thing with the drink. It was a glass with dinner because the day was long. Then it's a glass most nights because most days are long. And you're not a problem drinker. You're nowhere close. You've just quietly moved from occasional to by default. And moved your sleep quality down a full grade to pay for it. Same thing with ambition. This is the one that actually gets me. You had a thing you're going to build, a number you're going to hit, a place you were going to move. A body you were going to have at 50. And at some point, you stopped bringing it up. Not because you decided against it. Nobody sits down and formally cancels their dream. You just stopped mentioning it. Because saying it out loud at 47 to people who've known you a while started to feel a little embarrassing. That's the sound of a life getting smaller. It's very quiet. And that's the whole problem. And here's what makes it worse. The world helps you do it. Somewhere in your 40s, people start handing you permission slips. And they're dressed up as wisdom, which is what makes them so effective. Slow down. You've earned it. Act your age. That's just what getting older feels like. Listen to your body. You can't do what you did at 25. Every one of those sounds like kindness. It's not kindness, it's an exit. Every one of those phrases is an invitation to quit just a little bit. And most people RSVP yes without ever noticing they were even asked. And look, some of them contain something true, which is why they work. You generally can't train the way you did at 25. That's real. But watch what happens to the sentence. It starts as you should train differently, and it ends up as you should expect less. And nobody notices the substitution happened. That's the villain of this show. It isn't aging. Aging is just the terrain. Everyone's walking on it, me included. The villain is comfort, and a culture that will sell you comfort with a straight face and call it maturity. Here's the test I'd offer you. Think about the last 5 years. I want you to ask yourself one question. What did I stop doing that I never actually decided to stop doing? Not the things you chose to let go. The ones you outgrew, the ones that stopped mattering. Those are fine. That's life. I mean the things that just stopped. The lift you don't do anymore because your shoulder was bothering you in 2023. The trip you keep not booking. The conversation you keep not having. The number on the bar you used to hit and now you don't. And you couldn't tell me the week it changed. I want you to sit with that list for a second because that list is the actual shape of the fade. It's not in the mirror. It's in the things that quietly left the building. And I want to be clear about something because this is where a lot of people in my industry get it wrong and turn it into a motivational reel. I'm not standing here telling you that you're weak or that you need to want it more or that if you just decided harder, everything would be fine. That is not what I'm saying because some of what's happening to you is completely real. It's measurable and no amount of deciding will fix it. That's next. So let me be straight with you because you deserve both halves of this. Somewhere between 35 and 55, the rules genuinely change. This isn't a mindset thing. This is machinery. Testosterone drifts down. And I don't just mean total testosterone. I mean the free, usable fraction, which is the part your body actually gets to work with. Insulin sensitivity drops. So the same meal you ate at 30 does something different to you at 50. Sleep architecture changes. You spend less time in deep sleep, which is where a lot of your repair happens. Recovery slows. The workout that used to cost you a day now costs you 3. Muscle protein synthesis gets less responsive. So the same training stimulus buys you less than it used to. Here's the honest summary. The old playbook stops working. And almost nobody tells you the day it stopped. So what do most people do? They do the thing that always worked before. They try harder. They train more. They eat less. They add cardio. And it doesn't work. In fact, for a lot of you, it makes it worse because you're layering more stress on a system that's already struggling to recover. And now you're underslept and underfed and wondering why your body's holding on to fat like it's preparing for a famine. And then, this is the brutal part. You conclude that you're the problem, that you got lazy, that you lost your edge. You didn't lose your edge. Nobody read your data. Here's the thing that should make you a little angry. All of this is measurable. It's been measurable the entire time. It shows up in your blood work years before you see it in the mirror. And the standard annual physical you get is not designed to catch it. Let me give you 4 things. I'm not diagnosing anybody here and I'm not telling you what to do with these. That's a conversation with a clinician who's looking at your actual results. But I want you to know these exist because most people have never had them run and don't know to ask. Number 1, free testosterone, not just total. Everyone gets their total testosterone, but it's the free testosterone that really matters. Most panels just give you the total and stop. But a big chunk of that is bound up and not available to you. The free fraction is the part of your body can actually use for muscle building, for recovery, for drive. I've seen people get told their total looks normal, while the free number tells a completely different story about why they feel the way they do. Number 2, fasting insulin, HOMAIR. Almost everybody gets fasting glucose. Very few people get fasting insulin. And here's why that matters. Glucose is often the last thing to move. Your body will crank out more and more insulin for years to keep glucose looking respectable. And during those years on paper, you look fine. Fasting insulin and HOMAIR, which is calculated from insulin and glucose together, is where you will see it early. It's one of the clearest early signals that your metabolism is parked. Marker number 3, ApoB. Standard panels will give you LDL cholesterol, which is a measure of cholesterol content. ApoB actually counts the actual number of particles that can get into an artery wall. Those 2 numbers can disagree, and when they do, the particle count is the one carrying the information. This is the one where being 20 years early actually matters. Number 4, something that gives you a read on inflammation. HSCRP is the usual one. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the quiet tax. It sits underneath poor recovery, poor sleep, low drive, and a body composition that won't move no matter how clean you eat. And it is invisible unless you look for it. Let me make that concrete, because 4 marker names is abstract, and I want you to see the shape of it. Picture a guy. Call him 49. Trains 4 days a week, been doing this his whole adult life, eats better than 90% of the people he knows. He's gained 15 pounds over 3 years that he cannot explain. His energy dies at 3 every afternoon. He stopped saying yes to things in the evening because he knows he won't have it in him. His annual physical came back, everything looks great, see you next year. Now what does he do? He does what every disciplined person does. He tightens up, he cuts carbs, he adds 2 cardio sessions, he drops calories another 300. And 6 weeks later, he's exactly the same weight, sleeping worse, and now he's also miserable. So he concludes that the problem is that he didn't try hard enough. So he tries harder. And that's the loop. Some of you have been in the loop for years. Nothing about that man's discipline is broken. He's got more of it than most people I meet. What he doesn't have is the right information. He's never once seen his fasting and insulin. Nobody has ever calculated his free testosterone. There's a specific reason his body is behaving this way. It is knowable. And every single thing he's tried has been a guess aimed at a target nobody bothered to locate. That's honestly what makes me crazy about this industry. Not that people are failing, that they're failing blind and then taking it personally. This is not your fault. Now here's the point I actually want to make with those four, and it's not go get your labs run. The point is, for most of you, the reason you're stuck isn't a mystery, it's just unmeasured. There's a specific, identifiable, fixable reason your energy craters at 3 in the afternoon. There's a reason your body fat parked itself and won't move on a protocol that used to work. It's a real mechanism. It has a name, and you're currently guessing at it, which means every intervention you try is a coin flip. You change 3 things at once, something improves a little, and you have no idea which one did it. That's not a plan, that's a hobby. So hold both halves of this at the same time, because this whole thesis of this show, part of what's happening to you is real, physiological, measurable, and fixable. And you can't willpower your way past it. And part of it's a choice you're making in 100 small pieces. No lab test in the world is going to make that choice for you. Most people in my industry pick one of those and sell it. The mindset guys sell you the second half and act like the biology doesn't exist. The clinics sell you the first half. Here's a script, see you in 6 months, and act like the choice doesn't exist. But you need both. You need the truth about your machinery and somebody willing to tell you that the shrinking is optional. One without the other does not work. So here's the line I'm going to ask you to draw. And I'll tell you up front, this is going to sound like I'm trying to lose listeners, and I sort of am. We are not here to help you age gracefully. I've come to actually dislike that phrase, age gracefully. It means decline quietly and don't make it awkward for anyone. Fade politely. Have the good manners to become less. That's not the assignment. We're here for people who intend to stay dangerous, and I mean that word carefully. I don't mean reckless. I don't mean picking fights. I mean capable. Strong enough to be the useful person when something goes wrong. Sharp enough to still be building something. Someone who at 55 and 65 is still a factor, still in the game, still chasing something, still a little bit of a threat. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you've all met one. That man or woman in their 60s who walks into a room and you can tell he or she still got it. Not because they look 25. They don't. And they're not trying to, but they are present. There's still a life current running through them. That is available to you, but I want to be honest about the price. That life is not comfortable. That's the entire point. Everything you want is sitting on the other side of the things you've specifically been avoiding. The heavy lift you stopped doing because you're back. The blood work you haven't run because on some level you'd rather not know. The alcohol conversation you keep not having with yourself. The bedtime you keep pushing because the evening is the only time that belongs to you. The ambition you'd have to say out loud again and risk somebody watching you not get it. Nobody drifts into that life. There's no version of this where you get there by accident on a rising tide because you had a good year. You go take it. So here's the fork. And I think it's the realest thing I'll have to say today. You got 10 years in front of you where the decisions you make actually compound hard. And there are 2 ways to spend it. Fork 1 is comfortable. You slow down maybe 2% a year, which is imperceptible. You'll generally never feel it happening. You take the permission slips. You call it acting your age. And at the end of 10 years, you're softer. You're tired by 3 in the afternoon. Your world's gotten a little smaller. And you have a very reasonable story about why. Fork 1 never feels like a decision. That's precisely what makes it the easy one. Fork 2 is hard. And it's unglamorous. And most of it's honestly boring. You lift heavy on days you don't want to. You draw the blood and you read what it says. You fix your sleep, which is the least exciting sentence in health. And the one that changes the most. And you say the ambition out loud again. 10 years of that. And you're stronger 10 years later than you were 10 years earlier. That's not a slogan. That's a routinely achievable outcome. And I've watched people do it. I've seen people at 57 be stronger and more capable than they were at 47. I see it all the time. The difference between those 2 forks is not luck. And it's not genetics. It's what you choose about 100 completely ordinary days. And whether anybody's actually reading the data that tells you which of your choices are working. And this brings me to what we built. Here's the problem I run into. I do an episode like this, somebody would hear it and something would click and they'd message me, okay, I'm in, what do I do? And unfortunately, my honest answer for a long time was, go get these labs run, find a clinician who'll actually read them, find a coach who understands training for someone your age, get your own sleep and nutrition sorted, and then somehow get all 3 of these people to talk to each other, which is it's a ridiculous thing to ask a busy 45-year-old person to do. So most people did nothing, and I don't blame them. The other thing I kept running into is what the market actually offers you when you go looking. You've seen it. There's a whole industry now. 12-minute video call, a questionnaire, a prescription in the mail, a subscription, and no one talks to you again until your card gets declined. No real labs, no follow-up, and critically, no plan for how you ever get off the thing they just put you on. That's not medicine. That's a subscription business wearing a lab coat. So we built the alternative, and it's called the Ikaria method. Let me walk you through exactly how it works, start to finish. 8 steps, and I want you to notice that 6 of them happen after the part where most companies stop. Step 1 is an intake. We start with your actual life, training history, what you've already tried, what broke, what your weeks really look like, what you're chasing. Not a form nobody reads. This is the context that makes the numbers mean something. Step 2 is labs. We run comprehensive blood work, not the 8-marker panel your annual physical gives you. The full picture, including the markers I walked you through earlier and a lot more. This is the starting line we don't like to guess. Step 3 is the protocol. This is our engine, and it's the part I'm proudest of. Your intake in your lab is going to a system we built that constructs a protocol specific to you. Training, nutrition, supplementation, sleep and recovery. And when the data genuinely calls for it, hormones and peptides prescribed by licensed clinicians. Then a human being reviews every line of it. The system does the work no human has time to do properly. The team makes the calls. You get a plan you can actually read and understand, not a printout you have to take on faith. Step 4 is fulfillment. If your protocol includes something prescribed, that's handled through licensed clinicians and a licensed pharmacy. Real prescriptions, real oversight, real chain of custody. Not something that showed up from an unmarked website. Step 5 is monitoring. Here's where we separate from basically everybody. A coach is looking at your numbers every week, not every 6 months. Weekly. Because the whole point of a protocol is that it is a hypothesis, and a hypothesis that nobody checks is just a guess with better branding. We actually connect to your wearables and get real-time data on you on a daily basis, and weekly check in with you to review what's going on and make changes as needed. Step 6, we retest. We pull labs again on a set cadence, not because it feels thorough, because the only way to know if something is working is to look. Feelings are useful data. They are not sufficient data. Step 7, we adjust. We change the plan based on what the retest says, which sometimes means adding something and sometimes means taking something away. And I want to flag that second one because you will almost never hear it from a company that makes money on things they have to remove. Step 8 is the off-ramp. Every single protocol we start has an exit plan written on day 1 before you've taken anything, because the goal is a person who's strong and sharp and running their own life, not a person on a permanent subscription to my company. That's the arc. Intake, labs, protocol, fulfill, monitor, retest, adjust, and off-ramp. And that's why the bet we make is 3 things. Labs in, monitoring in, exit plan in. Every hormone and peptide program out there skips at least one of those. Usually the labs, because labs are expensive and slow, and they sometimes tell you you shouldn't sell this person anything. Almost always the exit plan, because the exit plan is literally a plan to stop taking their money. We do all 3 on purpose, and we've priced the program so we can afford to. That's the whole business. Now, I want to tell you who this is not for. And I want to be genuinely direct about it because it saves us both time. This is not for you if you want a prescription without a blood draw. We won't do it. That's not a negotiation, it's the entire premise. This is not for you if you want somebody else to be responsible for your outcome. We'll read your data, we'll build your plan, we'll watch your numbers, and we will adjust. We will coach you. We will not do your training or sleeping for you. If you're looking for something you can buy instead of doing, this will be the most expensive disappointment of the year. This is not for you if you're looking for the cheapest option. We're not. There are cheaper ways to get a prescription in the mail. You can find them in about 90 seconds. What we're expensive at is the part after, the monitoring, the retesting, the human being who's actually paying attention to you. And this program is not for you if you're happy, sincerely. If you're at peace with where things are headed, that's a legitimate way to live. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. This is for people who are not at peace with it. That's a much smaller group, and that's fine because we cap how many people we take anyway. So here's what to do if this landed. It starts with a 15-minute call. That's it. 15 minutes with a real person about your actual situation. That person is me. We'll ask you what's going on, what you've tried, what you're chasing. At the end of it, we'll tell you straight whether we're the right team for you. And I mean that in both directions. We turn people away. I have no problem turning people away that are not meant for this program. Some weeks we turn away more than we take. Sometimes it's because what somebody needs is a physician, not a coaching program. And we'll tell you that. Sometimes it's because they want a shortcut. We just don't sell those. Either way, you'll leave that call knowing something useful about your situation, even if you never give us $1. It's real easy. Just go to our website, www.ikariamethod.com, and that's where you can sign up for that consultation call if you want to explore this option. The link is also in the show notes of the description. It's 15 minutes. It's quick, it's painless, and it'll give you a good idea of if this program will be good for you or not. And if you take nothing else from this episode, take this. The fading is not a diagnosis. It's not a sentence somebody handed to you. Some of it is real biology and it's measurable and we can go find it and do something about it. That part I can prove. But the rest of it, the going soft, the settling, the shrinking of what you leave an attempt, that's a decision. You're making it right now in pieces on ordinary days. And you can make a different one starting this afternoon. You'll be dead a long time. Don't spin the alive part comfortable. I want you to refuse to fade. I'll see you next week.